Welcome back. So if you're like most high achievers, there's probably a version of you that walks into every room first and answers questions, and they make sure everyone else is okay. And they know how to read the energy of the room and other people and say the right thing and do the right thing and carry the weight. And most people think that's just my personality. That's who I am. And you've probably thought that too. But in this lesson, I'm going to show you it's actually something different. That version of you is not the real you. That version of you is what happens when the shame and denial portions of the worst day cycle collide. And we recognize the only way I'm going to fit into this family system and survive is to develop a survival persona, which we think is our personality. And remember, the first 7 years of life, we're in the theta brainwave state. We are not conscious. Theta brainwave is the same as hypnosis. And that's why people think this is who they are. Because all of these personas, all of these emotions, everything I'm describing to you happened before you're ever consciously online. And that's why you think, no, this is me. Quit trying to take away who I am. You're welcome to stay in this survival persona you've created. I get the advantages. There's a lot of exterior advantages, but if you want to heal the void, you have to get into the 4 stages of the authentic self cycle: truth, responsibility, healing, and forgiveness. And the first one is truth. And the truth is, I've shared with you how the brain and body works. And so you've adapted a survival persona. It was a brilliant strategy. It worked. And so let's start breaking it down, because that quiet, empty feeling that you live with, that void that we've been talking about, that's what is left when your survival persona has had to take over your life. And your real self, your authentic self, had to be suppressed and abandoned. So your survival persona is the role that you learn to play for you to, feel loved and safe and stay in control in an unsafe or emotionally inconsistent environment. So you didn't choose it consciously. Remember, you weren't conscious. First 7 years of life, you just built it. Observing one reaction, hearing one comment, experiencing one painful moment at a time. And like I said, it was brilliant. It worked. Look where you are. It kept you from getting hurt, or even worse, it kept you alive. It helped you navigate the chaos of your home. It helped you survive your emotional blueprint and your shame engine and your overheated nervous system. So it's done its job. So I want you to respect it. Because put it bluntly, your survival persona saved your life. The problem with the worst day cycle and the problem with this shame persona, our survival persona, is, yes, it allows us to achieve a lot, but it always runs out of gas, boomerangs back, and destroys us. All right? Look at the most successful people. Look how they all just blow their lives up. That's because their survival persona was running everything. All right? And that's the problem. It's running their lives, and it's not meant to. So let's talk about some of the survival personas most high achievers, commonly have. And you can kind of try one on and see which one fits you. It might be a combination of some of them, but one of them is the fixer. And the fixer just walks into any situation, immediately scans for problems, and diagnoses who's upset, who's, what in this room or situation is broken, what needs to be handled. And the fixer can, just sit still if it just can't sit still if something's wrong. It feels like this compulsive, like a massive drive that it's their job to hold everyone and everything together. So the fixer as a child learned that if I'm not solving the problem, I have no value. And if I'm not fixing, I'm failing. Okay? Now, another persona that gets developed is the responsible one. And this is the emotional, kind of practical parent in every environment. And even when they're not the parent. So at work, they pick up the slack, and then in relationships, they manage the logistics. They remember the details. They anticipate the needs. And in their family of origin, they were often the one who just grew up too fast. I see this all the time. Oh, I have someone very close to me and went to dinner with them. They had their 7-year-old daughter, and she was more adult than any of us adults. And they were praising her. And inside, I'm just going, oh my God, they don't know that they've stripped this girl. She's never had a childhood. It was so sad to see that here she was, an adult at 7 years old. So that child learned maybe what you learned. If you don't do it, nobody will. And if something goes wrong, it's your fault. And I was looking in her face and I just see it. Neither parent can take care of themselves. And so that 7-year-old has assumed all of this. All right. Another persona that gets developed is the over-deliverer, the one that can't just meet people's expectations. They have to exceed them. Like there's a lot of perfectionism in this one too. So they over-prepare for presentations. They over-give in friendships. They over-function in their roles. You know, they don't even know the term give 100%. You know, for them, it's 120%. And, you know, if they get 30% recognition, that's, you know, that's a win. Like that's the balance in their head. And then they tell themselves they should be doing more. They haven't done enough. So they learned that, you know, the bare minimum is failure, and meeting expectations still severe failure. That's nothing. The only way to stay safe is to be undeniably impressive. So they just do way more than they need to, way more than is expected of them. There's also the invisible rock. Now, this is the one everybody leans on emotionally, but rarely shows their own inner world. So they're, you know, just solid, stoic, dependable, strong, seem very emotionally, you know, people would call them emotionally intelligent. One who really knows, you know, they think everyone looks at them and says they really know what's going on inside of them. But why is that? It's because they learned that if they fall apart, the whole household, everything will fall apart. And if they need something, it'll be too much. So their job is to be the strong one so other people don't have to be. Now, you might hear yourself in one of those or a blend of them. Whatever your persona is, it has one job. Keep you from ever feeling the powerlessness and the shame and the abandonment of your worst day cycle. So how does it do that? Sadly, somebody has to be sacrificed. And so you learned to abandon and sacrifice you. And here's what I mean by that. Every time you say yes when you want to say no, every time you comfort them while you're crumbling inside, every time you swallow the truth to avoid conflict, every time you push your body past empty to, you know, that brings up, what's his name, Michael Goggins, or, you know, the Army Ranger who, you know, does the crazy events and runs 700 miles in a day. This is him. Yeah. So maintaining that image of you've got it. Your survival persona is stepping in front of your real self and saying, I've got this. You go away. You don't get a vote. And your authentic self is the one that feels the void. It feels the grief of being never chosen for you, of never being loved without conditions. You know, that, especially that Michael Goggins guy, I mean, he was severely abused as a child, like horrifically. And that's the worst day cycle. He's now doing the abuse against himself, and he's in deception and in a survival persona that says, no, look at me. And he's training the whole world. Look at how great this is. That's the sad nature of the shame and denial aspects of the survival persona of the worst day cycle, is it convinces us that us high achievers, that destroying ourselves is good for us. Yeah. That the only way we'll ever exist and matter is if we ourselves. And so we do all of that to avoid feeling that void. And that survival persona just steps in and says, no, we're not going there. We're not feeling that. I'm not dealing with anything back there. And instead, we're going to go to work, we're going to perform, we're going to keep everybody else okay. And we do that so we don't have to feel. And we do that so we, mostly don't have to feel how not okay we are. That, all of that is self-abandonment. Yeah, like Michael Goggins, I think I have his name right. That is severe self-abandonment. Like, that's the poster child of it. The way he destroys himself and then advocates, is disconnected and distorted about the reality of what he's doing, and he's advocating it. And even as he talks, you can hear the anger, like, listen to all these classes and then look at him and you'll be like, oh my God. Yeah, it's the worst day cycle. He's in the shame and denial portions, just massively stuck in a survival persona. Now, in his defense, I need to make it clear, he is not weak, he's not stupid, and neither are you. This is just how all of our systems learn to survive. Because think of that, kids, like, you have to read his story and what that man went through as a child. Like, so of course he developed this persona. He had no other option. It was brilliant. But look at the cost. You end up with a life everyone admires, that's true. But you don't ever feel connected to it. And you can have a partner, and you can have kids, and a business, and a trophy spouse, and career, and money, and status, and you're probably the most alone person on the planet. Feel unseen and unknown. Because the person everyone loves is the persona. They love the fixer, the responsible one, the over-deliverer, the invisible rock. But your authentic self, your heart, who you really are, still doesn't feel loved. Okay? The real you, the one who needs and needs limits and needs messiness and needs feelings, has been hiding behind that persona for decades. That's the void, the distance between who you really are and who you've had to be to stay safe. So I just want to make it clear, I'm not here to kill that persona. And we're not here to shame it or blame it or rip it away too fast, because your nervous system won't be able to handle that. You'll feel exposed and raw and unsafe. Be too much too soon. So we're just here to do something different. Just, one, get into reality and truth that it's here. All right? And then we're here to help it retire from having to be in charge of all of these things and your emotional life, because it's not its job, because it's actually a child trying to do an adult's job. And so we want to, investigate and learn about it, because there's some great tools packed inside of it that your authentic self can use when needed and appropriate. So, it's not an identity that you're trapped inside of that you have to stay in. Okay? And I want to make clear that your authentic self is not some sort of, perfect spiritual woo-woo version of you, who just never feels or gets triggered by anything and always knows what to do or say. That's not it at all. Your authentic self is you who existed before you got trained into the blueprint that you're now living. So from this place, you won't feel like you have to earn love or fix or please or overperform or disappear. You'll be able to say, I'm tired, I'm scared, I'm angry, I don't know the answer. And you can do all of that without believing that any of that makes you unlovable or less than or inadequate. All right? So in the next 3 lessons, we're going to deepen all of this with the authentic self cycle and emotional authenticity practices. But for now, I just want you recognizing your survival persona in everyday life, because until you can see it, you can't choose anything different. So in your journal, you're just going to answer 3 questions. The first one is, if I had to give my survival persona a name or a title, what would it be? Would it be the fixer, the responsible one, the over-deliverer, or the invisible rock? If it's a combination, make up a name including those, all right? Maybe it's something completely else that fits you better. Whatever it is, Name it. Give it an identity, all right? Outside of, this is just who I am, because it's not. Like, we have to get into reality that this is a shame-based survival persona. It's not our authentic selves. And so we have to stop seeing it as us, all right? It's not something bad that needs to be gotten rid of. It is something that needs to be identified and worked with so we can start getting the benefits of it, because all you're getting are the parts that destroy you, all right? Sure, you're getting external things, but internally it's getting worse, okay? And then the second question is, what are the three, look at three situations recently where your survival persona showed up and you abandoned what you really wanted or needed. Maybe saying yes to something you just didn't have the energy for, or comforting somebody else, or you kept working when you were just exhausted. Whatever it was, just write it down. And write down what your authentic self wanted and what your persona made you do instead. And then the third question is, when your survival persona takes over, how does your body feel? And what happens to your emotions? Do you feel tense? Do you feel nothing and numb? Detached? Energetic but wired? Whatever it is, do you minimize your emotions or go on autopilot? Just describe them, okay? And again, the questions will be down below so you can revisit them. And then in our next lesson, we're going to talk about the path out of all of this and what I call the authentic self cycle. All right, we'll look at how you move from the worst day cycle of trauma, fear, shame, and denial into the recovery cycle of truth, responsibility, healing, and forgiveness. All right, so that's where you begin to start to see your authentic self and be able to have the ability to live as yourself, not as your persona. And that's the only place the void can actually start to soften. But for now, just go slow, be gentle with yourself. You're not wrong for having a survival persona. We all have one. People call it the ego or the shadow. Like, they're all the different names. It's all the same thing, all right? But I do want you to be certain to feel incredibly brave that you're willing to see this, admit to it, and start choosing to do something different, okay? Because that's the beginning of coming home to your authentic self and really you. So I'll see you in the next lesson.